Hello and welcome to another Tuesday Talk with Ruby Reese. My name is Killian. I am co-founder at Ruby Reese and at dognutrition.ie, and I'm also going to be your podcast host. This week we were speaking with Laura, the Waggy Mama, all about a really, really cool topic, and I am brimming over with excitement to introduce you to the chat that we had. We were speaking all about the results of dedication, and particularly dedication to training, but also we had loads of fun speaking about having fun with your dog. Laura has had a really inspiring career, both in the agility arena, appearing at places like Crufts, representing Ireland at international competitions with her dogs. But on the other hand, she's also done quite a lot of work for film, for advertising, for TV with her dogs. So it really, really goes to show the lofty heights that you can achieve when you put your mind to it, have a little bit of fun, get out there and train with your dog. I'm not going to spoil the whole conversation with Laura because I think it's really, really worthwhile listening in until the end. I think this episode is going to be super interesting for so many reasons and for so many of you. Don't forget to share this episode out with loads of your friends and family that might gain some value from it. I think there's some really important messaging in here that loads and loads of people could benefit from. So without further ado, I'm now going to let you listen in to the chat that I had with Laura. Hello, Laura. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Would you do us the pleasure of introducing yourself for anyone that mightn't know you yet?
Yeah, okay. So I'm Laura. The line that I usually say is that I compete and coach professionally in dog agility, and I also train animals for film and television. So the short answer is really I'm an animal trainer. But I guess
Amazing.
this is a podcast, so I can give you the long answer. Great. Um, so I compete and coach professionally in dog agility. So nobody pays me to compete, but I do compete at a high level and kind of have competed on the Irish team and stuff like that. And then my main gig is that I coach this, so I teach other teams how to train their dog and how to compete in agility. And then another big part of my job is I also train animals for film and television as well, which kind of changes a lot, like day to day. But I guess I have about two of those jobs a month usually, but like they can kind of like peak at certain times of the year, and then it can be quite quiet and I'm just doing my agility coaching job, at other times during the year.
It's amazing. And I really can't wait to dig into all the like similarities and comparisons and contrasts there between those different areas of like training for, I suppose, top performance in all areas. So
Yeah.
that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe do you want to take us on a trip down memory lane? How
Yeah.
did your journey with dogs begin and what led you into training in the first place?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And I do get asked this a lot and I still don't really know. Like it just sort of happened. Like I think growing up in Ireland, there's a lot of animals around anyway, isn't there? So I started out in the horses. I think I was about 11 when I started sort of riding horses and working at a stable. And then I got a rescue dog, I think when I was about 15. And she was just extremely nervous mid. She was a little papillon and she was really nervous. And then we got Kimmy as well. And then I got my first border collie puppy when I was about, I think, probably still 15. We kind of got like a lot of dogs in a very short space of time. I don't know why. But anyway, like it was horses, then it was dogs. And Tink was really bright because she actually only passed like 2 years ago, I think. Maybe 3 years ago now, but she was really bright and just I loved teaching her how to do tricks and stuff like that. I used to just watch YouTube videos of like how to teach your dog how to bow, how to teach your dog how to spin in a circle, how to teach your dog how to leg weaves, that kind of thing. And it was all just sort of very like, I don't know, grassroots. Like you get your treats and you just start playing around with things. And eventually I sort of fell into agility and just absolutely loved that. And I was pretty useless at the start, but Tink was really good. Do you know what I mean? So she just kind of like carried us. And we got into the competition world from then, and then it all just kind of like spiraled. There was never like a decision. It was never like, oh, okay, I think I'd like to be this when I'm a grown up or whatever. It just sort of happened.
Yeah.
here I
Well,
am.
that's so often with life, isn't it? You just kind of like fall into things unexpectedly. And
Yeah, and
yeah,
I'm glad. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not it's not like I don't enjoy myself at the time of my life. Do you know what I mean? I'm definitely living the dream. Um, but yeah, it wasn't like I was like, this is what I want to be, and then I went out to it definitely just happened. And there was no other way it could have happened either.
yeah. I was going to just say that as well. I suppose we maybe I do it a bit of a disservice by saying you fell into it because actually we don't really fall into it. We probably make 1,000 or more tiny decisions that kind of lead you
Yeah.
down that path, and they just kind of like guide you ever so slightly in that direction, ever so more.
Yeah.
So it's probably
Yeah.
more like lots of micro decisions as opposed to
Yeah,
one.
and in another way, I think like my life is set up around my dogs.
Mhm.
So it's sort of like, okay, what job can I do that heavily involves my dogs? That I can bring them to work every day, like train them every day, and just set up my entire life around like being with them and providing for them. Do you know that kind of way? So maybe
Mhm.
it wasn't really, maybe I didn't make the decision. My dogs sort of made the decision.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's true. And you saw that they obviously were good at agility and like
Yeah, like they need something, I think. So Tink was a border collie, and she was very much. I was still living with my parents. Do you know what I mean? So she was really a family pet, but they need sort of something to do, don't they? I mean, we've
yeah.
bred them for hundreds of years to be like in a lot of emotional distress if they're not doing something for us. Do you know what I mean? So like they just, I don't know, you have to.
Oh, absolutely, and I can only vouch for it. Like, I mean, so we've a little Frenchie Ruby that lots of the audience will know, and like Ruby's great for all sorts of things, but like she's not your typical, I suppose, Malinois or whatever. You
Yeah,
wouldn't necessarily place a particular dog sport
yeah,
kind of on her breed. But we just started doing some scent work. We did a scent work course with her with Dogstercise, and it was absolutely fantastic. And she's
yeah.
so good. She is really, really good at it. And she really enjoys it. And it does really tire her out afterwards. She snores
I've
loudly.
seen a good few Frenchies and also pugs and they're not like your typical what you think of as being an agility dog. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I've seen them and I'm like, you've got quite a lot of drive. You're quite motivated. Do you know what I mean? So I do think that Frenchies and pugs, like some of them are like quite feisty and will be very good. We have a Boston Terrier that comes called
Yeah.
Mary and she's absolutely brilliant, like just brilliant. And there was a pug that I was training. She sadly passed, but she was absolutely phenomenal as well. So like although you wouldn't necessarily look at a Frenchie or a pug and think, "Oh my god, agility dog." Do you know what I mean? Like they really want to please in many ways,
Yeah.
don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so typical, I suppose, of lots of dog breeds, but Frenchies it definitely comes through as like, let's have a bit of crack together and enjoy
Yeah.
ourselves. And
They're
Ruby,
like
she
down for
hasn't.
whatever. They're ready to party.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you bring a bit of energy, they'll match it,
Yeah.
and um
And a few
and
treats.
and and a few treats, yeah. But Ruby's definitely there for the attention. And like we haven't really tried agility with her to a huge extent, but we have tried a bit of hoopers with her, and
Yeah.
that's worked really, really well. Like
Good.
if you can get her in the right mood and it's not raining, you're on to a winner.
All weather sports dog.
She's
Only a fair
not
weather
really.
sports dog.
She's more of a fair weather. She kind of like, so she's both ends of the spectrum really, because if we're out in a forest and she gets all mucky and whatever, she's like, okay, well, I'm filthy now anyway. So then
Yeah.
she realizes, okay, a switch kind of goes in her head and she's like, I'm now an outdoorsy dog.
Yeah.
So
She's like, "What do you
so
know?
yeah.
I'm a beagle."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it kind of depends, but yeah, usually she'll do her best to like keep herself well preened, and then like I say, if the switch is flipped, then she's like, okay,
Yeah.
we're rolling in the mud, we're going for
So
it
what you
today.
need to do is just have a pot of soil just outside the front door and just throw her in it as soon as you get out, and then you've a beagle for the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I think we nearly have a strategy. So going from out in the mud and out in rough and tumble, then towards the red carpet, because everyone's going to be really excited as well to get a taster of what you do for the big screen. So how did you even get into working with dogs for showbiz?
Yeah, so basically I've only been doing it 2, maybe 3 years, maybe I'd say 2 years. So I still feel very, very like new to it, and there's just so much I need to learn about it still. But basically about 2 years ago I got a phone call. They needed a well-trained border collie for a film who had to basically be killed like on screen.
Mhm.
So I kind of I just got into it from then. They needed a dog that was really well trained and that was a border collie, and I was like, "Do you know what? I have one of those." Um, and so for her first, this was Indy's first film. Sorry, my dog Indy that I do most of the acting with. She's about 10 years old now. That's actually her just behind me there.
Oh yeah.
In that, and she's just here lying down, but I won't disturb her to show her
Mhm.
to the viewers. But yeah, I trained her like basically to lie on her side and to keep her head down with like a sustained nose boop to a coaster, so
Mhm.
that she would keep that on the ground, and that even as she was being lifted up, she would keep her head down. Do you know what I mean? So she kind of
Yeah.
went very limp.
Yeah.
For the kind of the dead and dying scene, she was supposed to be lying on her side. She was like half dying, and then the character who owns her drags her up onto his lap and then smothers her. And so I trained her like with that, with the nose boop to the target to keep her head limp as she was pulled up onto the lap. And then he kind of goes to smother her, and so I gave her release cue, her go. So I said go. So then she kind of went to go to me. So kind of struggled to get up, and then I gave her her play dead cue again. So it looked like she struggled and then died. Do you know what I mean? And like the whole crew just like burst into applause as soon as they called cut on that one. But we were just kind of hooked from then. I was kind of just sort of playing around, had no idea what to expect. But then when that went so well, I was just like, "Oh my God, I love this. I feel like I could do this. I want to make this my thing." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how you kind of like just broke that down and kind of showed us behind, the magician's cloak a little bit of how
Yeah.
you kind of how you did the steps. But like that takes kind of a serious trainer really to think of those steps, because me as a lay person that's not a trainer or a behaviorist, I don't know if I would come up with those steps to be able to get there. So you can see the agility kind of coming through, of
Yeah.
breaking kind of the steps down. So then,
Yeah.
how do I get to the goal we're looking for? That's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you, like, so does Indy need a lot of takes then when
That's a great question.
yeah,
And really, every single job is so different,
yeah.
and sort of what the expectations for the dog on set are can vary like so much from production to production.
Hmm.
And like they're all so different and all amazing. Like it's great. Like we've never had a bad experience really on set. Um but sometimes there's very simple stuff that if you were not a dog trainer, you wouldn't kind of clock them as actually being very complex, or they seem simple.
Hmm.
Say they're like, okay, we just want the dog to walk into a room, perform a behavior, and then leave. And it's like, okay, but then where am I going to be? Am I going to be in the room or outside the room? So like basically there's a bunch of different behaviors that Indy has trained. Like so she has a go to a mark behavior, and then she can go from that mark to another, like say release from that mark to a certain point where I'll just give her a stay cue and she'll stay on that, and then I can tell her to go back. So there's a lot of things that's kind of like go from point A to point B, perform a behavior, then go back to point A. And in the layperson's mind who isn't, who hasn't done this for a long time, they're like, just get the dog to walk in and then walk out. It's fine. Do
Hmm.
you know that kind
Yeah.
of way?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually it's like infinitely more complex than that. So I do find that yeah, I'm sorry, what was the question?
And that's totally fine. And I think, do you know what? It was kind of a bit of a silly question, really, because if I had asked about whether Indy normally needs loads of takes, or
Yeah, 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 yeah.
whether or not. But I suppose on in hindsight, when I'm thinking about it, if you think about any actor or actress, and I suppose this even goes to the live stage even more, when you see someone at a pantomime or something like that, and they come out and they say, I've forgotten my lines. And
Yeah.
you're like, this is the 50th run of it. So everyone can have a bad day. Everyone can have a good day. Things happen. We are all just,
Yeah,
beings, let's say, humans
yeah,
or animals.
yeah.
So I
So
suppose like it's nuanced, isn't it?
yeah, it's very nuanced. So I wouldn't say, I mean, whether indie needs lots of takes or not is dependent on so many other factors. Do you know that kind
Hmm.
of way?
Yeah.
And then it's usually you have behaviors trained and then you can't necessarily reward them during the take because you're going to ruin the
Yes.
take. So our behaviors start to degrade with each take, if you get me. So
Hmm.
usually the first one is good, and I always ask if I can like practice so that I can rehearse it and reward her in a certain position, reward her for doing the behaviors. And then they're like, okay, we'll just roll on this. But then it's like, oh no, but then I can't reward her in the position. Do you know, that kind of way?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it really varies. And then what people want really varies, what they expect really varies. And do you know what I mean? So I would say, and then there's so many other moving parts as well. So sometimes indie will do this brilliant thing and then they'd be like, okay, we want to do it again with 10% less light. Or like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? There'll be something else from a different department that's very small, and that means that we all go again. Do you know what I mean? But that's kind of like the magic of it, is there's so many different departments, and your department is kind of like working with a different species, trying to like come together with all of the rest of it to kind of make the magic happen. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, it's fascinating. I think it's such an interesting insight into a world. I think most of us, and the way you're breaking it down to the nuts and bolts as well. I think most of us have not had any of these thoughts before. Of how this actually happens. So it's
Yeah.
really really exciting.
Yeah, and it's kind of ruined film and television for me. Like we can't watch anything. If me and my partner watch something and there's like a seagull in it, I'm like, what country was this filmed in? Whose seagull is that? Do you know what I mean? And then like it'd just be like a seagull landing on a boat and then flying off or something. And I'm like, do you think that was trained? Do you think that was like a go to a mark that the seagull had? Do you know what I mean? Who do you think trained that? And like I just can't like watch things just for the sake of watching them anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely can totally get that. And I suppose an awful lot of it is about the precision and the focus and everything. And there's do you also see a lot of kind of comparable elements to agility training?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, certainly it like anything that tests you and your dog and tests your training puts you under a certain amount of pressure.
Hmm.
And when you test that, so like say we could all do agility in our back gardens or in a field somewhere, and we'd be like, yeah, cool, smashing it, whatever. And then once you go to a competition, you really see how much deeper you have to go, if you get me. So
Yeah.
once you've tested your training and tested your understanding of your dog, and it just highlights to you like, oh, actually that's not as good as I thought it was, even if it was maybe just an off day or something like that. But it just highlights to you how much deeper you need to go in terms of understanding your dog, how much deeper they need to understand you, and then how much more and how much better you need to train, and kind of gives you ideas on how to do that, and sort of motivates you to get back to training. Do you know what I mean? Either with
Hmm.
changes or without changes, you know?
Definitely, yeah, yeah. And can you share a bit about the importance maybe of like having strong communication and trust with dogs as well? Because I'm sure for both elements, both for the agility and for the on-screen work, there has to be a lot about, being able to communicate with your dog and then having that level of trust there.
Yeah. So like I guess in agility you're competing as a team. I
Hmm.
definitely feel like on set I am a department, definitely.
Yeah.
Like me and Indy
Yeah.
are a department, and me and my cat are a department. Even if the cat sometimes needs to be spoken to by HR, you know?
Yeah.
But basically, like when you're competing as a team in agility, it's you're only you know the course. Like the dog doesn't know the course. Only the human knows the course, and it's your responsibility to show it to the dog. Do you know that kind of way?
Hmm.
So there's a lot more like responsibility just on you as the human to kind of carry and cue and, you've already trained the dog to do its job. So in theory, I mean, like
Yeah.
hopefully you've already trained the dog to perform its job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so there's a lot more, the onus is a lot more on you and on what you do, and you can eliminate yourself as well. Do you know that kind of way? So say if something, criteria isn't exactly upheld on a contact or something, you can just throw that round and eliminate yourself in order to maintain your training goals. Whereas in on set, there's so many other people and so many other moving parts, and you cannot eliminate yourself, because if you ruin that take, you're ruining it for everybody,
Hmm.
not just for you and your dog's like competition run, if that makes sense. um so yeah, I guess I feel like there's definitely a lot more teamwork involved in agility than in the set work, than in that job. But of course, for both of them, your dog has to want to pay attention to you, be motivated to do the job, and just ultimately be able to focus for a certain amount of time. Do you know that kind of way?
Hmm. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And do you feel that there's big differences then between, say, film, TV, and advertising, or is it more down to kind of, let's say the project at hand makes the difference?
Yeah, so it kind of it often depends. Like, um usually in film and television, there's like the animal wouldn't be there just for the crack. Do you know what I mean? There's a
Hmm.
reason that the animal is there, in order to help move the plot forward. So it can be more important that they get what they need, because that's why they're not just putting a dog in there for, do you know what I mean? Like there's some reason that the dog is there, and it's imperative to the story. Whereas oftentimes, even though there is a lot of stories told in advertisements as well. I've done some amazing advertisements where I'm like, this should be up for Oscars. I know ads don't go to Oscars, but like, oh my God, do you know what I mean? Like I've
Yeah.
done some amazing projects in advertisements as well. But I do find that it's really important that the dog look really good for advertisements, whereas what the animal does is more important in film and television.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. 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 Because I suppose, a lot of the time in advertising, they're kind of they're the whole story. Whereas I guess for film
Yeah.
and TV, they're playing a role as part of a much larger story, because obviously
Yeah.
the content format is way longer usually, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Um. And yeah, I'm thinking, like, you know, how do you keep all of this training fun and rewarding now for dogs? Because like it sounds like a lot of work, and I think it's only a credit to you and to everyone that works both in the agility side of things, and also kind of on the more professional side of things as well. How do you keep it fun and rewarding and keep pushing them to perform to their best doggy selves?
That's a really good question as well. And I guess I just love doing anything with my dogs, and my dogs just love doing anything as well. Like we do put a lot of effort into motivation and figuring out what makes a dog tick. Do you know what I mean? Like all my dogs are very different in terms of what they want to be rewarded with, and I work with that and develop like rewarding strategies based on what they really really enjoy. And then I would use like food reward for something where I want them to be thinking more, and then obviously toy rewards for something where I want them to be more, more in their bodies, more instinctual, and just, going fast and stuff like that. Um but like, I guess like I was even thinking my dog Harper, my one of my younger dogs, she had a dislocated toe. She was just in a weird accident where she crashed into a Kato board and she dislocated her toe. And so we did a lot of training around she had to get all these bandages changed, so I did a lot of her lying on her side, and do you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
being able to be handled. And then we did tons of and I was watching this video that I had made for our canine conditioning coach who had helped me like kind of rehab her through the process. And I was like, God, that was great fun. Like it was an injury. And me and
Yeah,
Harper had the time of our lives. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like it's just teaching her to lie on her side for her bandage changes. And she loved going into the vets and getting all of the attention, like her favorite place where everybody gives her treats. And she was like, look at my trick. I can lie on my side so you can change my bandage. And then like just doing all the little rehab things where she's putting her toes on things and doing the back paw lift and the cavalettis. And like I was looking back over it and I was like, everybody was like, God, that's awful, isn't it? And I was like, why? Like we had such a great time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess my answer is it's motivating because that's what I love. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
motivating for me because I love hanging out with my dogs, and it's motivating for my dogs because they love hanging out with me and doing things and working, and do you know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
I do like there's a lot of differences in my dogs. Like they're all rescues and they're all very different sort of breeds and backgrounds and stuff like that. And say Ross, who's my youngest dog, he's a lurcher. So he's not as motivated by like toys and by the work and stuff as the other girls who like they've a lot more border collie in them. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So I do sort of I wouldn't do as much work with Ross, but when we do, it's like quality work. Do you know that kind of way? Whereas I can do more with the girls because they would just work and work and work all day. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, like staying motivated is just something that I find really easy, and then that kind of the dogs do as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose once you know how to motivate them, and like you said, it doesn't have to be a fast-paced motivation. I suppose we always think about motivation as running and jumping and doing things, but like you mentioned, under with the rehabilitation and things like that after injury,
Yeah.
um, you know. These things can also be really, really enjoyable if you make them, or at
Yeah.
least motivating. Anyone listening in that's dog enjoys belly rubs might understand where this is going, and I'm sure that those are really useful tools. And like you say, not only just for going to the vets or the physio, but also potential for film as well. If you can get a dog to lie down and chill out on their belly for a while, it's already a first step to some amazing scene or other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We interrupt this podcast episode to bring you a message from our sponsors, ourselves, Ruby Reese. If you're looking for great natural supplements for your dog, search no further. At Ruby Reese, we stock both our own brand of top-notch supplements as well as a range of high-quality brands we really believe in. Head on over to ruby-reese.com and stock up today, and you may as well get the dogs some delicious treats while you're at it. And what about motivating dogs then to perform, I suppose, on the original piece that I mentioned about the fast paced and the high pressure. I think you mentioned when we were chatting about visits to Crufts
Yeah.
and doing amazing things there, but also obviously big screen where I'm sure there's lots of things going on some busy film shoots. So when there's lots of distractions going on, and lots of noise and just loads of things happening, how do you keep dogs focused and willing to perform what their task is, under pressure?
Yeah, I guess what I've found really helpful is obviously proofing behaviors. So making sure that your dogs understand all of their behaviors, regardless of what environment you're in, like going to the front garden, the back garden, into the shopping center. They're able to do a sit stay in all of these different environments, and then proofing it for movement, proofing it for distractions, like just a ton of different like proofing. But ultimately just that they really understand their job, and they know that their job gets them a reward. So no matter what is going on, they know that if they do X, Y, and Z, they will get their reward. Do you know that kind of way? So
Hmm.
it's not so much about being able to perform or the different environments or whatever. It's about them being assured in themselves that they know exactly what they're being asked to do, regardless of what's going on around them, and that they know exactly what it's going to get them.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Um, and some people might say the dogs are talented, and again, this definitely works for both sides. I'm sure you hear it all the time about agility, and probably hear it as well about the big screen that the dogs are born talented. They're a natural talent for it. Um, how much truth do you think is in that, and how much do you think it's the hard work that actually goes into the training?
So yeah, I think genetics very much do matter. Like there are
Hmm.
some
Yeah.
border collies and some springers that you're like, I feel like they were here before. They were an agility dog in a past life, because you just show them the thing and they just get it and they just do it. Do you know what I mean? And then there are other dogs like like lurchers and terriers come to mind. But now I have trained two lurchers. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I'm not dissing them,
Yeah.
but they are lacking something that a border collie or a springer just kind of is born with. But that's not to say that every single dog can't do the sport that you want them to do. As long as you are motivated, then you can motivate the dog. Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
sometimes there's a dog who's not really that into it, and it's probably because the human isn't super into it either, or else is just like putting far too much pressure on the dog to want it to be able to do the thing. Do you know that kind of way? Whereas I think if you I think all dogs can eventually be brilliant at something like
Hmm.
agility or any kind of training. Do you know what I mean? It just takes them all a different amount of time and a different amount of creativity to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I suppose the human end of the lead plays a big role, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But the dog themselves has to enjoy what they're doing as well, or at least see a lot of
Yeah, and
value in
there's
it.
no reason that they shouldn't. Like if they're not enjoying whatever it is that you're asking them to do, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also mentioned there are, not every dog is going to be suited to every dog sport, which is fair, and that can be down to their physiology. It can be down to their own motivations. It can be down to so many things. But like, there's so many dog sports out there. There's definitely one for
Yeah.
everyone, and we've mentioned a few of them already. But I think there's definitely an activity for everyone, isn't there?
Yeah, or even just like tricks. Like that's what I started,
Hmm.
was just like watching YouTube videos of how to train tricks, and at the time of my life just in my back garden, me and my dog. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, and talking about tricks, I know you mentioned some of the things on that you've done in scenes, but are there any other really impressive tricks that you love performing, or another type of scene that a dog had to do? Are there any other interesting challenges that you've trained?
Yeah, like I don't know, I love training all kinds of tricks, but I especially love sort of the stunts. Like I love Indy doing her rebound, and then just various different stunts like jumping up on your back and then doing leg weaves and stuff like that. I just think that those look really cool. They're really fun for me to train, and then the dogs like really enjoy them as well. But I do also think that they're kind of easy. Like what's harder are like the smaller, slower, more precise stuff. So basically, even just being able to do like a sit to stand on cue with you at 20 meters away on a single verbal cue. That sort of stuff is kind of the hard stuff, whereas the stunts and the jumping around and stuff like that is sort of quite easy, but also just very rewarding and very cool looking, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose again it kind of comes down to the dog as well. But I definitely know Ruby is so much better, even for simple tricks, at kind of faster paced things. Like
Yeah,
there's for her, there's nothing worse than a sit or a lie down. Like I mean,
yeah,
there's just like patience does not come built into that dog. It's like if you get her to do a twist around, she'll do it for you day and night.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
exactly. Like it is, and it's kind of more fun for us as well, isn't it?
yeah, we probably get more joy out of it and kind of like bounce it back, mirror it back to them then, and they're like, "Oh, you like that
Yeah.
too."
Yeah, but then I do really enjoy the challenges of the small, slow stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? So like I
Mhm.
think it's good to have a mix, you know?
And talking about I know I just brushed on it and then brushed away again very quickly from the human end of the lead. What type of skills do you think are important for us as humans to maybe kind of master a little bit or work on a little bit when we're working with any of this kind of training?
Yeah, so definitely like patience. So it doesn't happen overnight. Do you know what I mean? And like all of the really great things that I've been able to teach any animals to do has always been done in like tiny sessions that happen every single day. So it's not like, I do 1 hour once a week. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? I do 3 minute sessions. I put 3 minutes on my watch and I'm like, okay, these 3 minutes I'm going to work on teaching the cat how to play his piano. Do you know what I mean? And then he gets a break and then I take a different animal out and I'm like, okay, these next 3 minutes are on teaching Indy how to do a good fold back down at a distance. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's kind of like patience and persistence, um, that I think just make the big difference. It all happens in tiny increments every single day.
I love that. And I've heard it a couple of times, people coming on and saying kind of similar things like, enrichment happens within the time it takes to boil a kettle or whatever, and I think sometimes we kind of forget with any type of enriching behavior, any training behavior, like, we think what's the longest thing, the longest lasting chew ever, or it always has to be the superlative, but like the dogs get
Yeah.
frustrated after a while, and it's like it's so nice to hear you speaking about breaking it down, making it simple for
Yeah.
yourself and for the dog,
Yeah.
and maybe keeping some of your patience and persistence over time.
Yeah, and then kind of reevaluating. So I'd have like, a 3 minute session and then I generally like rotate. Do you know what I mean? So I would
Mhm.
train Indy for 3 minutes, I'd rotate, I'd train Harper for 3 minutes, I'd rotate, I'll train Ross and then the cat and then do you know what I mean? So on and so forth. And then I'll go home and I'll kind of ruminate on that and be like, do you know what, that could be done better. And I think I need to go back a step with X, Y, and Z. So then the next day I come back with like a game plan for a change for those 3 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. And I suppose even mixing up the environment that you're practicing a particular piece in can make
Yeah,
it, it can add to the challenge as well. It doesn't have to be growing arms and legs to a particular
yeah,
trick, but once
yeah,
they can do one thing, doing it
yeah,
in your front garden, in a park,
yeah,
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 I think it's
exactly. And all the
you
different
can.
locations and just being able to generalize the behaviors. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's I think there's so much to be said for kind of breaking it down into like simpler, shorter kind of sessions. That makes a lot of sense. Um and people that might be listening in now might be saying, "God, I'd love to start doing a bit more of my dog," and whatever the motivation it may be. What advice would you give to dog owners who are inspired by what you do and what you work at, maybe to build stronger skills with their dog, or to try dog sports themselves, or try trick training? How would you advise them to kind of get started on doing a little bit more?
So, depending on what sport you want to do, definitely link
Mhm.
up with a trainer or a club. Do you know what I mean? Um, it can just be much better to get, the expertise and from somebody that's more experienced. But if you're in the middle of nowhere, which lots of people in rural Ireland are, there's also lots of online stuff that you can do. I mean, we're living in an age where, like, look at us, we're doing a podcast online right now. Do you know
Yep.
what I mean? so being able to train online where you record yourself, and even just recording yourself and watching yourself back is something that makes massive improvement, because you'll see something that you didn't see in the moment. You'd be like, oh, she actually didn't really want to turn left there. Do you know what I mean? So maybe I need to work more on turning left, or something like that, just as an example. But being able to record yourself and then sending that to someone online kind of makes you accountable. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it gives you a second pair of eyes that's looking at what you're doing. And I think if you're motivated to start something, just try it. Do you know what I mean? Just like start like I did. Just go on YouTube, start looking at tricks that you can train for your dog. And I think everything comes back to I see everything in, you know, not as agility or as film work or as obedience or anything. Like everything is just tricks.
Yeah.
And it's tricks that we do like at speed on a course as part of a team, or it's tricks that we do in front of a camera, or do you know what I mean? All of it is just like, yeah, at its core, it's just me in my back garden with my first border collie after watching a YouTube video. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes we overcomplicate things even in our own heads. So yeah,
Exactly.
you're so
Yeah.
right. You
Yeah.
know, it is all just tricks, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and having, I suppose, when you look at it through that lens as well, it brings back in what we were talking about earlier about having a fun element to it, and just like
Yeah.
not getting bogged down in the we have to do X. It's like let's have a
Yes.
bit of fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think doing something that you enjoy with your dog can give you a better insight into how you can problem solve something that's less enjoyable that you kind of need to do. You know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely keep the fun in it. Are there any other misconceptions, either from agility really, or from the big screen, that you get all the time that you'd love to tackle?
Like, just that it's easy.
Hmm.
I know I'm saying it's so much fun and that I find it easy to stay motivated and all the rest of it, but it does take a long time. It is infinitely more complex than it appears. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so the we often get people, so to Waggy Mama's Agility, to my training school, and they assume that they're going to be running a full course on the first day of their lesson. And they're like, yeah, the equipment's here and we're ready to go. And I'm like, that's not really how we do it, sweetie. Like
Yeah.
we have to
Yeah.
start small and build up. And it takes a long time. It doesn't happen overnight. And a lot of the stuff that we'll do in our first lesson, it can all be done with no equipment at all. So they're getting sent home with homework that has absolutely nothing to do with the equipment that we have in the field that you'll eventually be doing. Do you know what I mean? When you're running an agility course, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So people get a little bit disappointed then when they're not using the tools they imagined from day one. But I suppose
Yeah.
it's otherwise it's a bit like a pilot kind of walking into the airport, you know, as our trainee pilot and saying, ah, well, there's the plane.
Right, here I
Let's
go. Straight onto the Boeing 747.
exactly, you're heading to Singapore today. Yeah,
Yeah.
so um yeah, no, it's totally understandable. And I think, you know, you do need to put in the groundwork. And I also love that you mentioned about, you know, finding a good trainer for this stuff as well, that knows what they're
Yeah.
at. Um
Yeah.
like I mentioned, we did a bit of scent work recently, and like even the nose touches, we would have never come to that idea. Like we would not have started where we started with a trainer. So yeah,
Yeah.
like totally agree. And with anything, I think it makes total sense to get that
I
helping
use I
hand.
use nose boops in everything.
I
Like
can imagine.
I feel like everything can be broken down into how can I use a nose boop to improve this? I use it in agility to encourage collection and handler focus. I've used it for so many different tricks in for film work as well. And then I think it just teaches, especially if you can do a sustained nose boop. So like one where they boop your hand or else boop an object. So I put them on a coaster then, and then I end up using the lid of a Pringles tub so that you can kind of like fade it out altogether and just say go boop that thing, and they'll just go press their nose against the thing. But it teaches them like duration, and so it kind of improves their sort of duration for behaviors and how to like hold things as well. Do you know what I mean? So like being able to just press their nose against something and just hold it until a release cue just gives them so many skills that they can apply to so many different behaviors.
So now we're sending people home as well with homework here,
Yeah, yeah,
just to
yeah.
go find a good video online of how to train a nose boop,
Yeah,
and there you go. That's your
yeah,
start. That's your real
yeah,
start into any of this.
yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And the last question I wanted to ask you: what is the most rewarding part of what you do?
Um, I guess it's just getting to hang out with my dogs. Do you know what I mean? Like the
Mhm.
rewarding part is that every day I get up and I go to work with my dogs. We all get into the van and off we go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's probably the most rewarding part. But then I don't know, getting like teaching the cat to play the piano has honestly been like I feel like that's the pinnacle of my career. Which is very embarrassing, but hey, it is what it is. But like it's just so cute and so funny and brings everybody so much joy and he loves playing his little piano. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Killian, but I have it on my Instagram page anyway, and I got him like his own little keyboard and he makes up all his own little songs. And he also thinks that everything in the world is a button now. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, I know this podcast is about dogs, but I just had to start talking about my cat, obviously. But he thinks that
This is
everything has a button. So he'll like walk up to something and he'll be like, I'll just start pressing it and you're going to give me a treat. It's going to produce a tune and you'll give me a treat. So anyway, that's very rewarding for me because it's so cute and so funny.
This is the wild card moment I was hoping for in this podcast. That's exactly what I needed. A cat playing the piano. I haven't seen the video yet, but I will definitely be making sure that I go find it.
Yeah.
Um, and I recommend everyone else does as well. We'll post it to our stories as well at some point so that people can have a look. That is absolutely amazing and fascinating. All of the things that you get up to. And I love the fact that, you know, the most rewarding part, I suppose, for you is what I see as the whole reason that humans and dogs have been hanging out and sharing their lives together for the last like couple of tens of thousands of years, and that's having a great old time together, you know? So that's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's so nice to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. It's been intriguing and so interesting listening to your stories and how you got into all of this. And yeah, I'm just hungry for more, really.
Good. No problem. Thank you for having me. I was also very uh interested to learn that your name is Ruby or Reese.
Ruby Reese. My name isn't Ruby or Reese. Yes, no,
No,
it's not.
you're Killian, it turns out.
I'm Killian. Exactly, exactly. My dog's name is Ruby, and Chris's surname is Reese. So that's where,
Okay, okay,
and we
okay.
liked the alliteration, and it worked. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just
that's where that
assumed
came
your
from.
name was like Ruby Reese, or else
Yeah,
your
well.
name was Reese and your dog's name was Ruby or something. But anyway,
So
Killian it
you're
is.
you're getting quite close. You're getting quite close there to where the name came for Ruby Reese. But yeah, that's where we went with it. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing once again. It's been an absolute
Problem.
pleasure. And I hope to chat with you again very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Once again, a huge thank you to Laura, the Waggy Mama, for coming on and chatting with us, sharing such interesting stories. And I think this podcast episode has so many really important messages in there as well. If you'd like to follow the Waggy Mama on social media, or indeed us, Ruby Reese and dognutrition.ie, you can find all of our social media links below, as well as links to our websites. And there you can find out about what the Waggy Mama and what we do on a day-to-day basis. It would be so appreciated. We really appreciate you as well as audience. Thank you very much for listening in, and we look forward to seeing you for another topic really soon.